Manchester City closing in on Enzo Fernandez as Tottenham look to bring in Savinho with that deal moving forward. Plus, a big report this morning that Arsenal will hijack the Bradley Barcola deal to Liverpool. There was the interest earlier in the summer. Are Arsenal about to throw a spanner into the works and improve their front line with the brilliant Barcola? Plus, Man United and the left-back conversation has been going on for weeks. With the talk yesterday of a minor injury to Luke Shaw, it has become even more paramount for United, and connections here to a highly talented German international. We're delving into those stories. We hit the like button. Get it done now. Just get the like button hit. Share it across your social media platforms. This is the Done Deal Show. Arsenal make contact with Bradley Barcola. That's the sub-headline. The main headline here is, I'm going to read it to you, is Arsenal hijack Bradley Barcola bid. That's the title. I feel this is lazy from the journalists. I feel this is preemptive at best. I feel this is... It could happen. It might happen. But let's write it anyway. It could happen. It might happen. Nothing's happened yet, but it might. So let's make a preemptive strike. I don't believe Arsenal have decided yet what they want to do. Maybe they've made contact with the camp to check where the situation is, because if they contact Barcola's camp and they say, look, there's a £2 or £3 million difference now between PSG. The player's fully committed to Liverpool. He won't change his mind. Thank you, but no thank you. It might help with the deliberations, the debate, and the considerations being made internally by Arsenal. It may help in that regard, okay? So I feel that there is that. Arsenal's board, in my opinion, since Berta has come in, they're very discerning. Okay, they show a good taste in players. They have good judgment. They won't just chase a player that they have no chance of signing, which is why I fundamentally reject the notion that Vinny Jr. used them. I think there was a real genuine chance they got him. It was a slim chance, but one worth pursuing. They had to take that shot. What I don't believe Arsenal will just do now is go, right, let's go and drop 100+ million on somebody else. I think they need to be really sure, again, they are not wasting club resource. Because if you drop 130 million on Barcola but only get a 70 million pound player, you've wasted 60 million of your resource that cannot ever come back. It will never come back. Never. It will never, ever, ever come back. In life, sometimes you lose money. That's all right. You can earn more. You can. And you shouldn't dwell on too many things that go wrong, because you'll end up making yourself unwell. I think too many people do that in life, where they just, something doesn't go their way or something goes wrong, and I'm gonna stress about it every minute of every day. What's that going to help? How's that going to help? It doesn't. But losing money is always one of those weird, and ever since I've been a kid, I remember once I lost. I remember I had a paper round, and I went and picked up my wages and I rode home, and I stupidly put it in my pocket and didn't zip it up, or I didn't have a zip pocket, and the little pay packet fell out my pocket. And my dad was quite a tough man in this way. I remember going, if I tell my dad, I remember my nan being there as well. If I tell my dad and learn a bit of a sob story, my dad would go, oh, where's your, if it was like £20, there you go. And my dad didn't say that. My dad went, well, that'll teach you for putting it in a stupid place. And my dad kind of always wanted to teach us lessons as opposed to always rescuing us, because it made you take better care of things in the future. But I remember my nan, and my nan was often full of wisdom. But my nan said, it's all right, though, you can earn more. And I remember being, 13, 14 at the time, thinking, well, I don't know, would never speak to my grandmother in this way ever. But I felt, oh, that's stupid. Because I can earn more, but then I would have £40, not 20. I'll only have 20. The money you lose is gone. Unless someone finds your actual money you lost, you never get it back. You never get it back. Even if you've got insurance that replaces an item or money, your premiums go up, so you still lose money, right? That is why I'm such a stickler for clubs doing their best to not waste money. You're always going to waste some, but you need to be really careful here, Arsenal, that you don't go out and put in a £130 million bid for a player that's only really worth 70. And I actually rate Bradley Barcola. So someone will go, but you rate Barcola. I'm being objective, not subjective in this conversation. So I don't believe this story as of today. I think Bradley Barcola is lower down the pecking order than, say, Julián Álvarez. I would believe it more about that. I actually would believe it more about a Yildiz story, because these are players that Arsenal have made real genuine inroads into this earlier on this summer about signing, where Bradley Barcola has never been one they've actually pursued. So I do feel there's an element of preemptive strike here from the mainstream media, but it is certainly a player that Arsenal should consider if he isn't close to joining Liverpool. If he isn't going to reject him. The last thing Arsenal need from an optics perspective is to going for a Barcola for him to go, I'm going Liverpool, guys. So it's a no. They don't need that, again, just from a purely optics perspective. But what do you guys make of this story? Your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, please, in that comment section.
The Athletic ran a piece, obviously. I think James ran a piece. There's been whispers of Arsenal's interest in Romero prior to that, but then James confirming it in his piece for the Athletic that Arsenal like Romero, and they've sort of held discussions through intermediaries about the Spurs captain. So, S-Boy1709 is conflicted. I am not conflicted on this. I'm not conflicted at all on this. I think it would be genuinely insane for Arsenal to try and sign Christian Romero. A, because I don't think he's very good. He can be good on his day, but to be a really top player, you've got to be good all the time. And he is not. He's massively inconsistent, totally rash, and just everything I wouldn't want in this Arsenal squad and in this Arsenal team. So I'm just not conflicted about it at all. I genuinely think it is insane that Arsenal are even considering this, and it's a little bit worrying for me that Arsenal are even considering this. As I said, on his day, he can be he can have an amazing day, amazing game when you're like, wow, Romero's good. He's really good. But then the next day, he'll do something utterly insane, get himself sent off, play his team into trouble. He's just a liability, an absolute liability, he's Spurs captain. His leadership qualities are non-existent. Towards the end of last season when he flew off to Argentina, when they were still in a relegation fight, and was basically not coming back until he was forced to come back because of the online criticism of it. This is the captain we're talking about. I genuinely think it's insane. So I'm not even conflicted on it. I think it would be an awful, awful move for Arsenal. Thankfully, it doesn't appear like it's anything that would be realistic. Spurs would not want to sell to Arsenal. It looks like Atletico Madrid are the team that will probably end up signing Romero. We know that Inter Milan are interested in him as well. So it does look like a bit of a non-starter, and I think James said that in his piece as well, that from Spurs' side of things, it would be a non-starter if Arsenal were to actually speak to them. At the moment, it seems like it's done through intermediaries at the moment, sort of just exploring the parameters of a potential deal. So I'm not too concerned about it because I don't think it's going to happen. But in fact, I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. But I'm a little bit worried that Andrea Berta and his team have even sort of put the feelers out on this one, because let's face it, he is not Sol Campbell. Arsenal fans got on board with the Sol Campbell transfer because he was a top player still very, very young, and he signed, everything that he did, leaving on a free transfer, all of that sort of stuff. So he immediately was an absolute hero when he came to Arsenal. Christian Romero would not be. That would not be the case. You think it's been bad when Chelsea players have signed for Arsenal before, and the online reaction to some of that. If Arsenal would sign Romero, there'd be a few who'd celebrate because Arsenal signed Tottenham's captain and all of that sort of stuff. But there would be a lot more that would be like, what on earth are they thinking here? So from the off, it would be a bad.
How far this relationship has actually fallen apart in North London, because you need that context to understand why this link even exists. Romero's standing with Tottenham supporters has been deteriorating for the better part of a year. He publicly criticized senior club management back in February. He was sent off twice last season, missing matches through suspension. And there was a moment that genuinely defined how strained things had become when he was reportedly considering skipping Tottenham's final, potentially relegation, deciding match of the season, just to watch his boyhood club Belgrano play back home in Argentina. Club legend Glenn Hoddle didn't hold back either, saying publicly he'd have driven Romero to the airport himself and told him not to bother coming back. That's not the kind of thing said about a captain who's settled and happy. So when The Athletic reported that Arsenal held genuine admiration for Romero and Team Talk followed up claiming he'd be open to making the move across North London, it landed like a bombshell, precisely because of how personal and public his fallout with Spurs had already become. And here's the detail that makes this so much more than your typical transfer rumor. According to sources close to the situation, Romero wants to join Arsenal specifically because of Gabriel Heinze. Heinze, the former Manchester United and Real Madrid defender, is now a first-team coach at the Emirates, and he and Romero share both nationality and a genuinely strong personal relationship. For a player who's clearly been searching for stability and trust after everything that's happened at Spurs, having a countryman and a figure he respects already inside a building at Arsenal is reportedly a real factor pulling him toward this move. Now, here's the reality check, and it's a significant one. Tottenham's stance on actually selling to Arsenal has been described in no uncertain terms as a complete non-starter. A high-level Spurs source told The Sun plainly that the club has no intention whatsoever of entertaining a sale to their bitter local rivals, regardless of what Romero himself wants. That's the same instinct that makes North London derby transfers so rare in the first place. The idea of strengthening your fiercest enemy is almost unthinkable for most boards, no matter how strained the relationship with the player has become. And that resistance appears to already be deciding this saga. Fabrizio Romano has since reported that Tottenham have reached their final decision. They will not be selling Romero to Arsenal. Instead, Atletico Madrid have reportedly moved into pole position, having already agreed personal terms with the player on a 4-year contract, effectively hijacking any romantic idea of a North London switch before it ever had a real chance to develop. Inter Milan were also credited with interest, willing to meet Tottenham's reported valuation of somewhere between 34 and 38 million pounds, but unable to get personal terms over the line, leaving Atletico as the clear frontrunners